English Civil War. But before the battles start, let's meet the two main characters in this drama. First, there's King Charles I, a man who always wanted to be in charge. He believed God chose him to rule, so he thought every decision he made was automatically right. If anyone tried to advise him or tell him to stop spending so much money, he acted like they were bothering him. He wore fancy clothes, loved expensive things, and often looked annoyed. On the other side was Parliament, kind of a giant student council for the whole country. They didn't want to kick him out. They just wanted him to listen, share decisions, and stop acting like the world's bossiest boss. Basically,
Charles, maybe let someone else talk once in a while.
but Charles hated being questioned. He hated sharing power, and he definitely hated being told.
No.
So the country split in two sides. The king wanting full control, and Parliament wanting shared control. No one backed down, and that's how the war began. I'm the Darkeneer, and you should now stay a while and listen, because nobody, and I definitely mean nobody, explained the English Civil War like this before. So why did England end up fighting itself? A big part of the problem was money. Charles I loved starting wars, and wars aren't cheap. But Parliament controlled the taxes. Every time he asked for more money, they wanted clear answers.
Why do you need this? What exactly are you planning?
They would ask. Charles hated that. He didn't want to explain anything. So he began inventing new ways to collect money, and people felt these methods were sneaky, unfair, and maybe even illegal. It made everyone wonder if he was trying to become a king with unlimited power. Then came the religion issue. Most English people were strict Protestants and wanted the country to stay that way. But Charles, well, his wife was Catholic. He liked fancy decorations and churches. He supported bishops who wanted a more traditional style of worship. For too many people, this felt too close to Catholicism. And in the 16th century, that was a scary thought. Suddenly, the arguments weren't just about money and authority anymore. They were about faith, identity, and the future of the country. And when religion gets involved, things get heated very quickly. When Charles I got into a major disagreement with Parliament, his solution was to shut them out completely for 11 years. No meetings, no debates, no votes. Just Charles doing everything his own way. This era is called the 11 Years Tyranny, and the name fits perfectly. During this time, Charles ruled alone, collected money in unpopular and questionable ways, punished people who disagreed with him, and tried to change how churches were run. Each year, his choices made him more disliked. By the time those 11 years were over, England wasn't just frustrated, it was boiling. Things got even worse when Charles tried to force Scotland to use a new prayer book. Charles needed money to deal with the rebellion, but he had locked Parliament out for over a decade. That meant he now had to call them back. Imagine returning to a group you ignored and disrespected for 11 years and suddenly asking for help. Parliament was not in a forgiving mood. When Charles basically said,
I need money for war,
Parliament replied.
Not until you fix everything you broke.
Arguments exploded. They got louder, harsher, and more personal. After months of getting nowhere, both sides simply stopped trying to talk. With no progress and rising tension, both sides began gathering soldiers. The country slowly split into two huge teams. One team supported the king, the royalists, also known as cavaliers. These were the people who believed the king had the right to lead, and that too much change would create chaos. Many were wealthy families from the countryside, often recognized by their fancy clothes and long hair. The other team supported Parliament, the parliamentarians, also called Roundheads. They believed the king shouldn't be able to make every decision alone and that England needed protection from his bad choices. Many were merchants, city workers, and people from London. The nickname Roundheads came from their short, simple hairstyles. Now the whole country wasn't just arguing anymore. Everyone was choosing sides. And once two huge groups pick sides and refuse to step back, there's only one thing left: war. When the fighting started, both sides thought they would win quickly, but that didn't happen. Neither side had enough trained soldiers, so the early battles were messy and confusing. Some villages didn't even know which army would show up at the door, and sometimes people from the same family fought on different sides. It became clear that this was going to be a long and painful fight. The first big battle was at Edgehill in 1642. Nobody won. It was basically the war saying,
Yep, this is going to take a while.
More battles followed, some won by the king, some by Parliament, until one man changed everything. Oliver Cromwell was on Parliament's side. He wasn't rich or fancy, and he didn't start it out as a trained soldier, but he was excellent at organizing people and keeping them focused. He helped create a new army called the New Model Army. This army was different because the soldiers trained properly, followed strict rules, had good equipment, and truly believed they were fighting to save the country. Thanks to this, the New Model Army kept winning battle after battle. The king's army grew smaller and weaker, and by 1646 Charles surrendered. But the story didn't end there. You would think once the king surrendered, everything would calm down. But instead, the king secretly made a deal with the Scottish people, promising to change the church if they helped him to get his power back. When Parliament found out, they were angry and felt completely betrayed. So in 1648, a second civil war began. This one was shorter. Cromwell's army crushed the king's supporters again, even faster this time. Parliament had had enough. They asked a question no one thought they would ever ask.
Should we put the king on trial?
For the first time in English history, a king was put on trial by his own people. Normally, kings were treated like they were above the law. But Parliament said if a king breaks the law, starts wars against his people and refuses to listen, then he must answer. Charles I insisted that they had no right to judge him, but Parliament argued that he had caused thousands of deaths and tried to rule without any limits. Charles I insisted that they had no right to judge him, but Parliament argued that he had caused thousands of deaths and tried to rule without any limits. After the trial, the court decided he was guilty of treason, meaning he had betrayed his own country. In January 1649, the king was executed. The whole world was shocked. Nobody thought a king could be punished like that. After the king's death, England became something totally new, a country without a monarch. No king, no queen. Instead, it was called a Commonwealth, led by Parliament. But soon, Oliver Cromwell took control as Lord Protector. Some people supported him, but many did not. Life under Cromwell was strict. Christmas celebrations were banned, theaters were closed, fun events were limited, and rules were severe. The country struggled to adjust to life without the monarchy. After Cromwell died, nobody knew what to do. His son couldn't rule well, the country felt tired and confused. So in 1660, Parliament made a big decision: bring back the king. Charles II, the son of Charles I, was invited back to England to become king again. People hoped he had learned from his father's mistakes and would be wiser and calmer. Charles II agreed that he would rule with Parliament instead of ignoring it like his father did. So the monarchy, the royal family, came back. But things were different now. Kings would never again have unlimited power. Parliament became stronger and the people had more rights than before. The idea that a king was chosen by God and could never be questioned was weakened forever. England had gone through a long, confusing, painful civil war. But the end result was a government that was more balanced and fair. And that's the story of the English Civil War. Giant argument that changed the whole country and even shaped how governments work today. Now here's my question for you. If you had to choose a side back then, who do you think you would support? Team King or Team Parliament? Let me know in the comments and tell me why. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.